So, the Erik ten Hag revolution has begun, and unfortunately, off of the first half that I've just watched, it's new era, same old. Because, look, firstly, like I say, this is just the first half reaction for now. I will put the second half just jointed together at the end, because the chances are they'll change the entire team at half time. But unfortunately, it's a lot of the same old mistakes that we're making in this first half. And it has to be stated that Rosenborg are in the middle of a season already. So they're at full fitness. They're in the middle of playing competitive matches. This is our first game of pre-season. Also, we're not playing a lot of first-team players. And also, Rosenborg have definitely been taking advantage of the fact that this is considered a friendly, because one of their players should have been sent off twice. First for his initial tackle on Casemiro, and secondly after getting booked for the tackle on Casemiro, not getting a second yellow for flattening, I think it was Hannibal. And then also 2 or 3 occasions a Rosenborg player has yanked down Rashford and Ethan Williams as we've tried to counter-attack. So they're certainly playing on the boundaries of what's legal and what's not legal. But from a Manchester United perspective, which is obviously what you guys want to know about, the concerns are, once again, we're conceding far too many chances and we're being very sloppy on the ball. And I think the most culpable for that so far in this first half have been Mason Mount and Marcus Rashford. The two real proper first team players in this team, other than Casemiro, who I'll get to shortly because I think he's actually done all right, Casemiro. But Mason Mount's been playing in this deeper role, sort of in that position that Eriksen was playing with Casemiro at times last season. And like with Eriksen, he's not a holding midfielder. It's so obvious that if we don't have Kobbie Mainoo there, we just don't have someone that's going to be able to get on the ball and do something, whilst also having those defensive capabilities as well. Every single attack that Rosenborg has started down their right-hand side, our left-hand side. And poor old Sam Murray has been left out to dry because Mount's not doing enough defensively, and Rashford, being Marcus Rashford as he always is just not tracking back on that side of the pitch. And look, I know what I'm saying, and like I said already, it's the first game of pre-season, but you've only got 45 minutes. Both of those England players are going to be wanting to try and get themselves into an England squad going into the next World Cup after we failed last night. So you'd like to see a little bit more impetus from them, but I've not seen any impetus from them. And unfortunately, that's meant that, again, the youngsters that we've got up front in Wheatley and Williams have barely touched the ball because those two haven't been doing their defensive duties, and then when we've got on the ball, we've just not been that progressive going forward. I think Hannibal has been absolutely awful. I can tell why Sevilla didn't want him. His attitude he doesn't look bothered. He looks like he doesn't want to be there. He's rolling around on the floor every time anyone goes near him, and he's been giving it away every time he's got on it. The one positive I thought from the attacking side of things is we look like we're trying to hit balls in behind. And that's because we've got pace in Williams, in Wheatley and in Rashford. And when Casemiro was picking it up, and when Mount was picking it up on a couple of occasions as well, we were looking to hit these diagonal balls in behind the defence. And I kind of like that. They didn't all come off. Not many of them came off. But that's the point of pre-season. It's about trying these new tactics. And I think we've trying to move a bit away from just trying to build up from the back. And we're looking to stretch the opposition defence by using pace. And we know we've got pace. When Højlund's back in the team, he's got pace. When Xerxes joins the team, he's got pace. When Garnacho's back, he's got pace. Anthony's quick. Ahmad's quick. We've got pacey players in the squad. So if we're going to start looking to get on the ball in midfield and then hit these diagonal balls, I think we could do quite well. My other concern from that first half is we've still not adapted our corner defensive tactics. We're still playing with that box of 6 and then all the short players marking all their attacking threat. Thankfully, it's not conceded a goal in this half, but they've had chances from set pieces once again. Finally, to round off my first half reaction, the two standout performers of that first half, Johnny Evans, who has looked fantastic. Again, as you'd expect from Johnny Evans, reading of the game, right place, right time, good tackles, good blocks, good on the ball. Really impressed with him. He's completely outshone Fish, who, quite frankly, hasn't looked up to it in this first half, so I don't really know how much more we'll be seeing of him. And then secondly, the goalkeeper, Vitek, 20 years of age, 6'6". He has produced some high-quality saves in that first half, And again, has looked very good on the ball as well. Spent the second half of last season on loan at Accrington Stanley, and by all accounts had a very good spell at Accrington Stanley. And like I say, from what I've seen this first half, looks like a very accomplished goalkeeper between the sticks, as well as being an accomplished goalkeeper with his feet as well. So one to keep an eye on. Hopefully we'll see some more of him over the course of pre-season. And we'll see what the future holds for him. Because at 20 years of age and a goalkeeper of that size that's making good saves and playing good football, potentially could have a future at Manchester United. But those are my thoughts on the first half. Pretty worrying signs, it has to be said. But at least we're not conceding. And like I say, Casemiro's looked a little bit better than what I saw from him from the back end of last season. He did pick up quite a bad challenge, as I've already spoken about. So we'll see what the second half brings. A lot more youngsters to come into the side. Let's see if Manchester United can get the result. And I guess we'll start the second half reaction exactly where the first half reaction ended, because Radek Vitek, take a bow. I've honestly seen enough of him in this game alone to justify him being at least Manchester United's number 2 goalkeeper this season. He looks an absolutely phenomenal goalkeeper, making even more brilliant saves in the second half. It's just unfortunate that literally the last kick of the game has fallen straight to the Rosenborg substitute striker, 6 yards out, who has just smacked it, and Vitek gambled on one way and it's gone down the middle of the goal, and Rosenborg win 1-0, which is slightly disappointing, of course. It would have been nice to see Manchester United get some sort of result today, but I'm not going to have a go at the kids in the second half because they were the kids. Like, this was the vast majority of the under-18 team that won all of these accolades over the last couple of seasons, but it was their first game for 4 weeks. And like we said in the first half, they were up against Rosenborg's first team that are already in the middle of a season. Yes, they made changes in the 60th minute, but ultimately they were up against a side that were already playing at full level. These are our literal youngsters, and they did all right. I think certainly Collier looks like he's a good player, albeit he's already 20, whereas some of the others on the pitch today were 16, 17, 18. But he looks like a really good, solid midfielder. Tall, physical, calm on the ball. Some really good passes round the corner from him. Looked aggressive, got stuck in. That's the one thing I would say about the youngsters in the second half. They got themselves about the pitch a hell of a lot more. Spent the whole first half moaning about Mount and Rashford not putting themselves about. Those youngsters today really did put themselves about in the second half. It's just a shame that, again, it didn't really come to anything when we got ourselves on the ball. And unfortunately for Hugill and Fletcher, who were the striker and attacking midfielder in that second half, I don't really think they got many touches of the ball at all, really. And I just think we didn't do enough to get them into the game. There was an awful lot of defending that had to be done. And obviously, we've already spoken about Vitek doing his job well in that second half as well as the first half. But ultimately, it's a shame to not see the youngsters play as well as I think we know they can play. But like I said, I'm not going to have a go at them. It's their first game of pre-season as well after a 4-week break. The vast majority of those players are not going to be making the trip to America for full pre-season. They will be back at Carrington getting themselves ready for their youth season once again. If I'm going to take anyone from this match today, I'd definitely be taking Collier. I don't really think anyone else really stood out. There are a couple of bright moments from Ennis, who beat his man a couple of times, came inside and shot. Couple of those, certainly one of those occasions, there were options to the right of him where he could have slipped Scoulton in on the right-hand side or a Gunay on the right-hand side, but he chose to just shoot. The second one of those shots produced the only real difficult save that the Rosenborg keeper had to make. But other than that, in that second half, we didn't really produce anything. It was just a relatively decent defensive display from, like I say, Collier and the back line. Bennett in there with Al Joffrey, and yeah, it is what it is. It's a 1-0 defeat. It's certainly not the ideal start to pre-season, but it's the first game of pre-season underway. We see what happens against Rangers on Saturday. My reaction to that will come on Sunday because I'm away on Saturday, so I'll record the game and watch that on Sunday. But we'll see. Some positives to take. Certainly a few negatives, I think, carried over from the back end of last season, but Manchester United are back. The new era has begun. If you did watch the game, let me know what you thought of it down in the comment section below. Should we be looking at Vitek being promoted up to the senior side immediately? I certainly think we should. Thank you very much for watching as always. I'll see you in the next one.